Hello, everyone, and welcome back to My First Mon. We are talking about Pokemon Legends Arceus. Yes, we're an Arceus podcast, not an Arceus podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jack Martin, alongside the Pokemon Master, Christian Buckley.
Hello, Jack. I'm happy to be talking about Pokemon again. We talked about Pokemon very recently, and now we get to do it again, just a week later. Feels good.
We sure did. We did our episode 0. If you haven't checked that out, that was us deciding to play the game at all,
Yeah.
which was like somewhat surprising for us because we were like hot on the game, lukewarm on the game, cold on the game, and now extremely hot on the game again. So it's been a roller coaster, and we're excited to finally talk about it and actually talk about some first impressions. But yeah, how have you been, Christian, since we last spoke?
I've been good. We've dealt with 2 regional storms, but what's keeping me nice and cozy is warm cups of tea and this Pokemon game. I told you a while ago, Pokemon by like a Christmas tree. I know it's February, but Pokemon in the winter hits different, and oh boy, does it hit right now. Oh, it's making me so happy.
It's very cozy. It's a very cozy experience. So yeah, excited to talk about it. But for those that don't know, this is My First Mon. It's our Pokemon retrospective podcast. I guess not really retrospective right now.
No?
Since this is a new modern game. It's a new experience for the show. It's very exciting. You can find it on YouTube, youtube.com/joyclicks, or on podcast services like Spotify or Apple or whatever you listen to. I would like to give a special shout out to our Patreon producers, Aaron Easton and Jose Garcia. Thank you both for your support. And if you would like to communicate with us, talk with us, you can sound off in the YouTube comment section of our videos, just like a couple of our trainers did. Christian, do you want to talk about our returning trainers?
Yes. Very, very happy to see returning trainers, as always, whenever we do a new season of the show. 2 specific comments on the video last week, and Neon Rider in the Discord holding it down. We got Todd and Angarl returning. Happy to have you here. Very glad to see returning faces. Todd left a lovely trainer tip last week. They said, "Let's go. Let me send my first Mon. I'm a solid 6 hours into this Pokemon game, and it's quickly become one of my favorite entries in the series. Can't wait to see you guys cover this game." Yeah.
That's great. That's really great to hear. Because I've heard some mixed things from like longtime Pokemon fans about this game. So I'm interested to hear you, Christian, what you think. But it's also great to hear that Todd is enjoying themselves a lot, which is great. So
Yeah.
This is an excellent comment. Loved seeing it.
Yeah, and Jack, I know we're about to get into it, but like speaking of longtime Pokemon fans, I've been playing this series since I read the beginning of Pokemon Yellow and thought that dude's name was Professor Piaf because I could barely read. I'm enjoying it too. I'm a longtime fan and I can't wait.
Hell yeah.
We also have Angarl, who said, "Everyone pronounces the name differently and some swear by one pronunciation, saying it's official, while others swear by another claiming the same. So pronounce it however you would like to."
Great to hear, Angarl. We will say Arceus. I've heard 50%, like some say this way, some say that way. It's very split. So we don't care, but we're going to say Arceus.
Yes.
We appreciate the comment. We appreciate your allowing us to say it how we like. So
Yes. I will say,
Arceus.
in the JoyClicks Discord, Neon Rider did say Arceus is a hard C, confirmed canon in multiple places now. I do wince every time I hear the soft C for it, especially as a Brit. Sorry, next time win a war, and then we'll listen to you.
That's exactly right. So
Yeah.
sorry, Neon Rider.
But thank you again for returning. It's awesome to have you in the Discord. Sounding off.
Absolutely. We still hold grudges, clearly. So,
Yes.
But it's good to have you back.
I will have a link to the Discord in the description if anybody wants to discuss when episodes post, or honestly just your playthroughs of the game, because this is kind of different for us, like you said, Jack, where we're playing it with everybody right now. We're not years late on it. We're playing it when new people are playing it, when longtime fans are playing it. So play at your own pace. You and I are already at different places, which we'll get to. But yeah, if you're looking for people to talk to about Pokemon Legends Arceus, or honestly any games, join the JoyClicks Discord. We can get more people in there, more people talking about this year in games. Starting off with what a hot hit to start the year with. Am I right?
Yeah, dude, it really is, and especially considering that we weren't going to play this.
Yeah.
Like this wasn't a day one game for us. Um, it's kind of wild to see that this is kind of taken over, and honestly, in a way, it's taken over so much that I had to stop playing because I didn't want our first impressions video or episode to be me beating the game because that was a real possibility. So for the first week, or like for the first weekend, I played like I think 15 hours, and then I was like, can't keep playing at this speed, so I was doing like random requests and things like that, or just filling out the Pokedex, listening to podcasts. But yeah, it's quickly taken over. But Christian, I think before we even like get into our like first impressions of this game, I want to talk a little bit about some sales numbers, the sexy sales numbers.
Yes, please.
And we're gonna dive into this a lot more. I think my thinking is we'll do this first impressions episode. We'll do maybe like a final thoughts episode, like a credits rolling episode. And then we'll do like what we usually do at the end of a series. We'll go back, think about this retrospectively, compare it to the series, and I think we'll, in that episode, talk more in depth about what we're going to discuss briefly here, if that sounds good to you.
Sure, yeah. And it's interesting because I know you and I are kind of burning through this game, and I'm first weekend was in a similar place with you. This past week's been a bit slower, but yeah, I feel like normally with the Pokemon games we played, there's opportunities for like, it'd be shocking if we did 4 episodes, right? But this is so different in so many ways that like there's not even a multiplayer component, so we couldn't even do like a fun extra episode of like us dueling each other. Like this is such a different Pokemon game, and I think that is an important thing to keep in mind when you go through these numbers and eventually when we get to that conversation you're talking about.
Yeah, I think there could be a conversation where we could be like, oh, let's do this region in the game, and then we'll discuss that. And there's ways you could break it up, but I think it's more fun to play this a little bit more like casually or just naturally rather than splitting it up like that. So that's the plan. Looking forward to talking about it more. But for right now, let's start off with, I think, a tweet from this morning from Nintendo where they confirmed that 6.5 million players have played this game. And then a little bit earlier this week, Famitsu, who's a Japanese video game journalist site or publication, reported, and this is via Nibel on Twitter, that the game sold 1.4 million units in Japan during its first 3 days of release. And this is the second best first week for a Switch game. That's behind Animal Crossing. So just insane numbers going on right now for this game.
Yeah, it's pretty bonkers. I know this is also tangential, but Nintendo just released their last, I think, 2021 financials, and they update quarterly the best-selling Switch games. And with Pokemon, I believe, I'm gonna have egg on my face now. I should have remembered this. The best-selling Pokemon games of all time, I think, are still Red and Blue. And then after that,
Interesting.
It was Gold, Silver, Crystal. But now the second best-selling Pokemon games ever are Sword and Shield, which had tons of controversy. And Pokemon games always sell fast because they're Pokemon. But 6.5 million, that was like what Horizon Zero Dawn sold lifetime for a while before it got its PC release, right? That's in a week. So I think by the time we get to our final episode discussion, we might have updated numbers, like maybe NPDs for the month will be out by then. But yeah, I think that is ridiculous. But it shouldn't be, right? Because Pokemon is the highest grossing media thing that exists. But for a game that, is it mainline? Is it not mainline? Is it ugly? Is it the best thing that's ever been made? The answer is kind of yes to all of those things. So like, it's just very strange as a lifelong fan seeing them report it that fast. But yeah, that's what a lot of games sell lifetime. I think that's the important thing for the perspective here. What do you think about this number?
Yeah, that it's hard to be surprised about this. Like what you said, Pokemon is just like one of the most popular things on planet Earth. So in that sense, like yeah, this makes sense. But yeah, this is like a side game in a way. And I think I've heard that um, this game, like Pokemon typically sells 2 games at a time for a gen, right? And then the third at the end. Uh, this is releasing as a standalone game, and I've heard that I'll have to like double check and like fact check this maybe for that episode we fully talked about this, but this game selling as one game is like has superseded Diamond and Pearl. I think the like the remakes of the past in the past few months. So very impressive, very wild. I think that's kind of the extent we should discuss this at the moment, and
Sure.
then we'll get into like the future of what this means and where does Pokemon go from here in a future episode. But I think it's worth mentioning now that it's performing quite well.
Yeah, I think you're right. Because again, we'll get to it, but I'm sure you who has played most of the fan favorite Pokemon generations at this point can imagine where like you could go with a follow up to this, right? Like
Yeah,
endless possibilities, and I'm sure that's going to be on people's minds a lot moving forward.
sure. So Christian, before we like get into like the nitty gritty of like talk about the premise of the game, like where we find ourselves, like gameplay and mechanics, what were your first impressions of this game? Like first day or two playing, how are you feeling about this game?
I was addicted. I think in my first 24 hours, I put like 9 hours into the game. Like when I picked it up Friday night before the snow hit, by end of day Saturday going to bed, I think I was like 8 or 9 hours deep because I could not stop playing it. Where it just maybe I have been following this series for so long, so I'm very curious to hear your perspective on this, but there's probably a lot of things in this game that are maybe objectively like bad, but the fact that it is Pokemon that is doing this and it's so different and so much of it is good, as someone who loves Pokemon dearly, like I can't stop playing it because it feels like it's the first like nice thing that they've done for me in so long. I guess it's like, oh, I miss this. I miss this feeling. I can't get enough. But yeah, that was my first 10 hours, basically, just nonstop happiness. So
Yeah, like I think I'm in a similar boat. Obviously, coming from a different perspective as like a newcomer to the series, we had that blizzard that you mentioned. I woke up in the morning to play this game, got through like the tutorial, which is way too long, but got through the tutorial, was just messing around with like catching Pokemon, and played that for hours. Went to shovel, came back, and that's literally all I did that entire day. And then I did the same thing the next day on Sunday. And pretty much instantly, I was like, oh, this is what I want from a Pokemon game. There's so many new mechanics, new to me at least. Maybe there's some things in this game that came later in generations, because of course I only have the context of Gen 1 through 3. But there were so many quality of life improvements, ease of use improvements, and just being able to control your character doing like an open world situation and really focusing on the Pokedex being the primary way of progressing in the game rather than like a secondary mechanic in a game, I really enjoyed and quickly got me taken with this game. And I tweeted, like, I think maybe the first day, I'd be surprised if this does not win JoyClick's podcast game of the year in 2022, because this is just one of those games you can put on. Story, in my opinion, doesn't really matter all that much. And if you want to just go out and fill out your Pokedex, there are podcasts on, you are more than welcome to do that. There's no voice acting in this game. Story, I feel, is a guiding presence in this, but it is not the main focus. I feel like the main focus is filling out the Pokedex. So having a podcast while you're completing your quest of doing that is going to go a long way. And I've already been doing that. So yeah, this game is pretty fantastic.
Yeah, so I think you're probably right where it's so interesting because I never play Pokemon games as like the collector, you know, because we've had plenty of conversations across 3 generations of why and like how I play Pokemon games. And I think when we did Red and Blue, I told you that like the gotta catch 'em all thing was just marketing. That was just hype for the show. That was the
Right.
card game thing. That was merchandise. That's not the point of the games. That's the point of this game. And this is the first Pokemon game where I have been like, yeah, I gotta catch all of them. I gotta document them. And I'm even going as far as I need to learn everything I can about these Pokemon because the way it's structured, where you have all of these objectives for each Pokemon and each stage of evolution, and if you fill out 10 of them, you get like the completed edition of their Pokedex and you get like their little blurb in the Pokedex. It's so rewarding because I want to see this ancient civilization's perspective on these Pokemon and what they're writing about them. Because I think lore wise, I'm with you. I think the story isn't like that deep, but I think the setting and premise and concept is fascinating for a Pokemon game. So, as a fan, a lot of that is driving me to want to lean into the completionist side of things. And for like the most part, and I'm talking like 98%, it's for me just a joy to wander around these open environments and just do things and explore. So I like twist my arm, give me more reasons to play this game. I want to have a fully fleshed out Pokedex. I'm catching multiples of things. I never do that, Jack. But
Yeah,
that being the
it's
point
one
is
of those
awesome.
games I wish. Oh, sorry.
That being the point is just awesome because it's giving me a fresh perspective.
Yeah, totally. It feels radically different from the Pokemon formula, and that's something I really appreciate because even going through 1 through 3, gens 1 through 3, I was like, I see where this is heading. It's very much very similar experience every time, and I get how that could be appealing like year over year, but to do what we were doing and play them relatively close together, it felt very samey after a while.
Yeah.
Even though I loved Gen 3, like that was our last experience playing through that. That's one of my favorites, if not my favorite. It was, go to the gym, progress, do X, Y, and Z, and like you're doing the same thing in every game. This is completely different and completely new. There's, of course, mechanics from the previous Pokemon games, but this is so new and it's a direction I really like the series heading in. But right now, Christian, let's talk a little bit about the premise of the game, specifically like where and when we find ourselves and like what the whole point of this game is. So, do you want to discuss where we are and when we are?
So we are in the Hisui region, which is familiar for me, kind of, because Hisui is a couple hundred years in the past. It is the Sinnoh region from Gen 4 Diamond Pearl Platinum. So the way it's positioned is there's the Hisui region, which has Mount Coronet at the center, which is a big deal in the other games that take place in Sinnoh. And you have multiple factions that are local, and then you have the Galaxy team, which is sort of colonizing, I guess, this area. And based off of some of their architecture and some of the character moments, it's alluded to that they're coming from a different Pokemon region that we're familiar with. Specifically, the architecture of the main building. It has, I'm sure you noticed this, Jack, there's like smokestacks that look like a Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
So in Sword and Shield, that's the Galar region. It's based off the UK. And later Pokemon entries introduce variants. So like Vulpix from Gen 1, the Fire Fox. In The Alola region, because of evolution, like Darwinism, Vulpix are ice type. So there's variety there. In Galar, Weezing looks like smokestacks with like big top hats because they're in the UK. I think the premise is that Team Galaxy came from the Galar region to help settle here. They're a neutral party in this new region. And what our role is we are modern day children, teenagers, sorry, being dropped through this space time vortex out of our cushy 21st century lives, being thrown into this ancient Pokemon civilization. We, Pokemon experts, you and I at this point, and it's our duty to join Team Galaxy and help people in this town that are scared of Pokemon realize what we have realized across 3 seasons of this show, that it's a wonderful world of Pokemon, not a terrifying world.
Yeah. I really like this premise of just being sent back in time. And presumably you being sent back in time, and I'm forgetting like the guardian Pokemons. What's the name of them? The ones that you have to quell?
The Lords.
Yes, the Pokemon Lords.
So
they're
cool.
like kind of going, like they're sort of going rampant in a way, and you have to like quell them, and like you presume that you going in the past and the giant rift in the sky has something to do with that as well. So that's like somewhat connected. And just being sent back in the past and helping the Survey Corps like actually complete the Pokédex, and like that mechanic being how you progress in the game, I think is so fun and so different than having like a battle focus Pokemon game, which there is definitely like battling in here, and you do have to battle to progress throughout the game, but it's more so about exploration and filling out the Pokédex, which I absolutely adore.
Yeah, and also as somebody who's played like, I don't even know how many Pokemon games I've played, but I know that formula like as a second language at this point. And I know you said you started to see that formula and not necessarily grow tired of it, but could see yourself growing tired of it. I've been there, like I got tired at one point. And I think a lot of it also is I've been having feelings playing this game and talking to the NPCs, which I kind of hated doing when I played Pearl recently. Like, I was like, why am I talking to you? You're saying word vomit. I feel like so many of these characters, even the like nameless ones that I couldn't tell you what their name is, they feel well realized, and they feel like they have personalities. And I think what's so refreshing is, like I said, thinking back to when we played Red and Blue, and we had all these like conversations and theories, and you had these questions because all this was new to you. Like, I remember one of the conversations we had was like, damn, everybody in this world just loves Pokemon. Like, there's no other problems. It's just this. Here, it's like normal people with normal, like, oh, we need to have enough wheat for the winter, being scared of Pokemon. That's just such a fresh thing that not everybody in this world is obsessed with these creatures. Most of them are terrified of them. So that's just also very refreshing and makes me want to talk to people, and also feeds into me wanting to do quests for them, because like one of the quests I had and I came across was some woman was like a guard, and she was like, how does Zubat see in the dark? It's weird because they're nocturnal, and I feel like I can't guard the village properly at night. So you have to go find a Zubat in the wild, and then you bring her the Zubat, and she's like, wait, it doesn't have eyes? How does it see? And then it's just like this very charming, fun thing that characterizes the village, and as you progress, you get to see these people become more comfortable with Pokemon. It's just so awesome and refreshing that we get to play a role in this very new thing for this very well-worn formula, I think. Even though there is still level gating and stuff like that, like you have the progression of the stars, which are kind of gym badges, but like,
right,
you're not thinking the way you do when you play the other games,
No, and it's funny that we're finding freshness in the past. Like typically, I don't like prequels. This might be one of my favorite prequels. Like going back in the past and like the uh, premise that we're discussing is, I think, very interesting. And yeah, I think it was a really smart idea to go back here. Of course, like you still have a professor. You have like it more or less a rival compared to like May from Emerald in either Akari or Ray. I have Akari because
I do too.
I'm playing as Jack. But if you play it as a girl, you get Ray as your rival. But it's less so compared to like gyms and things. Like they're like getting the slates is kind of like, or the plates rather, is kind of like getting gym badges in a way. I haven't really used those. I don't really know how to use them. I know like it says like you'll gain the power of X element for your Pokemon. I haven't found a compatible Pokemon yet, but
yeah,
that's kind of like that. No HMs or anything like that though.
No. And I guess I don't know how much further you want to get into like general talk before we go into specifics, but I have to ask because we always make a big point out of this. This game handles starters differently, where they are not new. It's a familiar region, but none of the starters in this game are the starters from Sinnoh. You have all three are returning. You have Cyndaquil from Gen 2. You have Rowlet from Gen 7. And you have Oshawott from Gen 5. Those are the three little gentlemen that can help you out on your journey, your first partner Pokemon.
Right.
So.
Cyndaquil being the fire, Rowlet being the grass owl, flying, and then Oshawott being, I'm honestly forgetting. I know it's a water type. Yeah. But in all reality, Christian, once I was given that choice, I went to Cyndaquil very quickly, and I didn't even look at the other two. Like I think Rowlet was cute because he looks like an owl and he has like a little bow tie kind of.
Yeah.
But that was it. Who did you end up choosing?
I chose Rowlet. I love him because the thing is, I was planning on going Cyndaquil because when I played Gen 7, I didn't choose Rowlet. Rowlet was a close second, but Gen 7 had a little black kitten that turned into a like Tiger WWE star as his final form. I was like, I gotta pick that. But,
that's really cool.
Yeah, Rowlet. I was playing Cyndaquil, and then when I got to that moment and I saw Rowlet look at me, I was like, I gotta go with this dude. He's my best friend now. He's the best starter Pokemon that's ever existed. he's great. He's perfect. So
yeah, it's a good call. I think I saw his evolutions, and they look pretty cool. So
yeah,
it's a good choice.
And we talked about regional variants earlier, right? All three of them have a new final form. They're not the same design as they would be in their original games, which I think is interesting. Which I won't get into spoilers because I haven't evolved Rowlet because I just love his starting form so much. But you with Cyndaquil, you've been able to see Cyndaquil's line. Which I'm sure you noticed was different because when we played Crystal, you did choose Cyndaquil.
Yeah, Typhlosion really surprised me because I wasn't expecting like the purple ring of fire around his body. Like it looked for me, it was like, oh, did I just not realize that's what he looked like? Because Gen 2 obviously looked a lot different than this game, so maybe it was just like lost in the art style or something, but. Yeah, actually, until you said that, I didn't realize it was a different look.
Different type, also.
Yeah. That's something I was wondering as well. I was like, man, I didn't realize Typhlosion was fire and ghost. But I think that's really cool. I never have a ghost Pokemon, so having Typhlosion be able to use ghost moves effectively is really cool.
Yeah, I think ghost typing is tricky, where obviously when we played through Red and Blue, I think we both had a Haunter at one point or a Ghastly, but it's very easy, especially with how strong Psychic is in Gen 1, to feel like they're useless in a given scenario. But with someone like Cyndaquil and now Typhlosion, who has the dual typing, like you said, it feels like you can use ghost moves efficiently, right? Which I think is really cool, and you can experiment. And Fire is still always going to be a good choice. So to have the dual typing allow you to experiment with ghosts, I think is a very like fun, good way to branch out to a off the beaten path typing that not a lot of people, at least that I talk to, I don't know many people who are huge stands of ghost typing. So
Now that we're kind of already getting into it,
yeah,
let's go a little bit further with like the gameplay and mechanics of this game.
sure.
It's very different
Mm-hmm.
than what I'm used to, and it sounds like what you're used to,
Yeah.
where um, it's very battle focused in previous generations of Pokemon. This is all about, I'll say, exploration. There's not really much to explore aside from just going around the map and finding Pokemon at your leisure. Like you can't go into like caves or dungeons and find little things here and there. It's not like Skyrim or anything, but
Yeah.
um, it is all about finding Pokemon. There's certain times they appear, like day or night. Like there's a dynamic time of day system where you can like find ghost Pokemon at night or certain Pokemon during the day, which I think is cool. But I think the quality of life and other improvements that I really appreciate about this game are just how quick everything is. And what I particularly love the most is I don't know if this was introduced in other Pokemon gens, so you'll have to explain this for me. But I used to refer to like a chart that I think probably a lot of people use for like typing like what's
Yes.
effective against what. This game just tells you what is effective. So like if you're in a battle, you can hit the Pokemon button down on the D-pad and you will see what moves each Pokemon has and what are effective, not effective, or super effective
Mm-hmm.
to the Pokemon you're battling. And that saves me so much time. And honestly, I just wish that's how it worked going forward. So is that a recent thing or is this new to
So
Pokemon Legends?
I want to say that started on the 3DS. I don't know which game because my first 3D Pokemon game was the Gen 3 remakes, and then I played Gen 7. I still have never touched 6, and I only played a little bit of 5. But I know for sure it was in Gen 7. Every Switch Pokemon game, like Let's Go, everything since then, has had that um, little addendum to every move. But I think in some instances, and I might just be super used to it now, so I might not have noticed it, but I believe it will only tell you the effectiveness of a move if this is not your first time encountering a Pokemon. So, like, if in the wild you ran into an Onix for the first time, it wouldn't say, like, hey, this water move is super effective because it's your first experience with it, so how would you know that? But if you do that battle, even if you don't use a water move on it, and then you eventually find an Onix again, it would say what's super effective. I think that's how some games have handled it. I'm not sure if that's the case with this one because, like I said, I'm just so used to seeing that.
Yeah.
So I haven't noticed if it's been popping up on future encounters, but
Okay. So yeah, that's a new system to me. Obviously, from what you described, it was already introduced. But overall, for me, like this game is just less annoying than previous Pokemon games,
yeah.
and I don't mean that in too negative a way. Granted, I was playing games from like the 1990s till the early 2000s, so of course there's going to be some things from those games that just don't age very well.
Yeah.
But there's just so many improvements where everything is quicker. If I want to enter a battle, I can like just run away, and that's
love that
the end
so
of it.
much.
I don't have to sit through so many menus or anything. Battles seem like they take quicker. It just I prefer this style of gameplay way more than I think the traditional Pokemon style of gameplay.
Yeah, and I want to go back to something you said at the start because I was kind of surprised to hear you say this. And maybe it's just again because I feel like I've been so used to the way it has been. I felt like this game really didn't have a tutorial, honestly. Like it really just felt like I was surprised genuinely at how fast I was just in it. Um, and I think that's my favorite thing about this game so far, between the way you can progress with the Pokedex, um, giving different options, right? Because, like I said, every entry will have multiple paths you can explore, but there's also different tiers to each path. So if you just want to go around catching things, for the most part, you could probably get a full completed Pokedex by just catching a ridiculous amount of the same Pokemon for every species. Or if you don't want to do that, you can just catch some, and then you can do the other objectives like, hey, see it use this move, defeat this number of them, play this way. So, like, the thing with Legends that I love so much is just a lot of what you were saying of the annoyances. It's very freeing, and it feels like it's a game that any type of Pokemon fan can get enjoyment out of, because they allow you to play it so many different ways to progress. Because, like you said, the main goal is the Pokedex, and you can complete it in, I don't even know how many permutations there are. I don't want to do that math, but I have never felt annoyed trying to complete a thing. It's like, if I don't want to do this objective, I can just do this one that I like doing more, and I can do it whenever I want, wherever I want. And that does tie back to what I said about the tutorial and what you were saying before about the annoyances and quality of life stuff. Like, it feels surprisingly hands off for Pokemon, a game that is so linear in its first few hours, typically.
Yeah, for me, the first hour was kind of a slog because it was one of those, let's teach you what a Pokemon is and all that. For me, at least, that like kind of, or let's teach you how to catch a Pokemon.
Yeah.
That just took a little bit for me.
Sure.
But after getting through that, like what you were saying, I was a little intimidated when I saw how to, when you like looked through a Pokedex and see the ways you can like complete an entry. I was like, oh man, I have to catch 25. I have to do all of these tasks to complete it. But no, it's some tasks, and this is different for Pokemon, are like double XP essentially. So if one Pokemon has like a red arrow next to the catch task, say you catch 2 Pokemon, that'll complete that like bullet point, and that'll count as 2 like little tasks, I guess. And then if you do 4, that'll count as another 2. So that'll be like 4 like entries, I suppose. And then there's some other ones where like if battling and defeating one Pokemon in that series, that'll net you 1 point. And I think it's like so much better than like having to do every task, like catch 25 of these things, defeat 25 of these things. It really does give you the choice of like going at it. And yeah, each entry is somewhat different, like depends on, there's like a focus of what they want you to do for it, like the double XP mechanic, I suppose. That's kind of the one you want to like focus your energy on, but you can do other tasks to complete that. And I think it's just such a smart move, because I think the sign of a good game is getting distracted by the other things that are a part of the game. And I often was very distractive. Ooh, who's that over there? And then seeing like a Pokemon or like an alpha Pokemon, being like, what's going on here? How am I gonna spend my next 5 or 10 minutes like filling out the Pokedex for this particular Pokemon? So yeah, that's what really kind of made me sink so many hours into this game already. Like, I'm already at 20 hours in this game, and it's mostly doing stuff like that.
Yeah. Do you feel like you're falling into a specific type of like completion path? Like, do you find yourself, because I could see for somebody who wants to go for completion that like if they're just catching things and like occasionally battling them, I could see maybe that get boring. But like literally every Pokemon gives you like, I feel like maybe 10 different objective paths to go through. So like I've been trying to diversify a little bit if it's something I know I can do. Like, I have some other Pokemon in my rotation and they know flying moves, so it was like, I think for Carnivine it was like, hey, defeat one using a flying type move. It was like, oh, I have flying types, so I'll do that instead of just trying to catch it. So like I've been actively trying to diversify it a bit just so I don't feel like I'm catching everything and having to just mass release things all the time. But for you, like, do you find yourself leaning one way or another? Are you experimenting with the progression at all, or what's up?
What I typically do is if I unlock a new region, I will just like go and explore that as
Mm-hmm.
much as I can, and I focus my energy on whatever has like the double XP mechanic. Is there a name for that, like the red arrows next to it?
Honestly,
Do you know?
I had no idea that that was how that worked until you told me that. I didn't realize that they were giving you boosted progression if you went through the red arrow paths.
Yeah, yeah. I figured that out like a little bit into my playthrough,
Mm-hmm.
where I was like, I was curious like how that even worked. But yeah, if there's like the red arrows next to a task,
Mm-hmm.
that'll net you double the points. So like
Okay, cool.
that's pretty much what I've been focusing on. So that's anytime I happen upon a new Pokemon, I aim at them, hit down on their Pokedex, and see what's up, and see what the red arrows are next to, and do as much of that as I can before it gets tedious, and then do some of the smaller tasks. That's pretty much what I do. I haven't released Pokemon. Everyone that I've caught is sitting pretty in my stable, I
Nice.
suppose.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, that's. I often find myself just like not really focusing on the main mission and just going around,
Mm-hmm.
doing like some requests here and there. I've been doing a lot just because I had a backlog of requests, and I was, like I said, this is a podcast game. Listen to a lot of podcasts, going through all the requests that I can at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
um, and yeah, that's pretty much the gameplay loop that I've been doing,
Sure. Yeah.
and it's been really fun.
Yeah, I've been doing every single request I come across. I honestly think I might try to just do all of them. I don't know how many there are in the game, but again, I just love exploring the world so much and going around my partners that if somebody's like, hey, complete this Pokedex entry and we'll have a fun little exchange about this Pokemon, like, yeah, I want to see what you want to say. Like I was saying earlier. Um, and I just think that's so refreshing also because I don't think there's really been traditional side quests in Pokemon games that I played. Like there I guess you can maybe argue there are side objectives to do like daycare or the fossils or stuff like that in other games, but this is straight up a traditional side quest as you'd expect it. Like somebody in town has a problem, you go out in the world, you find a thing to solve their problem, you come back, you get rewards, and it's all offering just fun little moments for me. Like you said that you're doing a decent number of these side quests, right? Are there
Hmm.
any you've done so far that stand out to you in terms of either the objective or like a fun little exchange or anything like that that you've seen?
Um, Honestly, like they're very much go just to this area and catch this Pokemon, or very simple things like that.
Mm-hmm.
They're not very long. I don't think they're that interesting in my opinion. There are some standout ones that I think are funny. I know the meme request. There's a couple. There's one of I think Wanda who like keeps disappearing,
Yeah.
and some dude's like, "Oh, she keeps like disappearing,"
Yeah.
and I think Yusuf Magid from Ubisoft was like, "Yeah, maybe she doesn't want you, bro. Like, stop trying to ask. Let her go." That was funny. But then the other one was it is the Pokemon Rizal? Is that the name of it? I'm trying to.
Rysel? I'm not sure.
It's like it's in I might switch right here, so I'm gonna go to my
Okay.
pen and find it. But it's in the first area, um, and it's like a little rat type thing. But basically, someone asks you to find a bigger version of
Buizel. Yeah, I still can't find that dude. I
yeah
still can't find that Buizel.
yeah Weasel. Yeah, thank you for that. Um, I just found the alpha version, which is like significantly bigger.
Yeah.
And that's how I did that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that was one of the standout ones for me. But what about you?
Yeah, like I said, I liked the Zubat one. There's one that I really loved because it's cool to see for me the village of these people like learn to cooperate with Pokemon. So there are two standouts from the like that take place in the village where one of them I guess you do have to go out, but I already have this Pokemon. Um, in the farm area of town, you can talk to the farmer and he's like, "Hey, to get our crops to be more efficient, it'd be really useful if we could have a ground type Pokemon to help out in the fields. So could you lend us a Pokemon that knows ground moves?" Um, I caught a hippopotamus, I think is what it's called. Um, I should know that, but it's a little hippo. It's a little baby hippo that knows ground moves. And I lent the farming crew my hippopotamus, and it's just there. It's in the field, so I can just go visit it. And it's like working in the field. It's like plowing crops. Um, and I've noticed, and I'm sure you have as well, the more quests you do like that, the more Pokemon start populating the village, and you get to see the bonds form, which I think is fun. Um, the other one is one of the guards is like, we got a Bidoof problem. We got these
Yeah.
three nasty little Bidoof that are coming in causing a ruckus. You got to track them down for me. Um, and I think the way to do it is you have to have your own Bidoof and have it like distract the other Bidoof so the person can catch them. And it's like a little hide and seek thing. And then once you collect them all, there's this fun little exchange where somebody from the Galaxy team comes over to the person who hired you and is like, hey, the Bidoof could like help us build new structures in the village because they're gnawing at all of our wood. We can work with them and they can do what they like and they can help us. And then at the point I'm at in the game now, there's a new structure being built that the Bidoof are all hanging out around because they're working on it. So like that level of progression, again, maybe it's super basic in other games, but I never would have thought that Pokemon would do like environmental storytelling in a way. It's so fun to see.
Yeah, they're really fun. I feel like the majority of their requests are just kind of fetch quests, but
Sure.
there are some really fun ones. I want to talk a little bit more about how Pokemon moves are treated in this game,
Sure.
because for me, this is a very new mechanic for moves, and I'm wondering if this is also an improvement from previous gens, but you can just swap out moves willy nilly, like whenever you want. This is something that gave me a lot of stress in previous Pokemon games because I'm like, I don't know what this move does. I don't know the power level of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're asking me to like get this move, and if I don't want it, like I'm screwed. You just learn moves as you progress through your Pokemon. Which, by the way, leveling up Pokemon is better than ever. Like everyone just levels up in parity. Like everyone has essentially like an XP share going on.
Yes.
Which I love. But
Mm-hmm.
Pokemon earn new moves, and they just have a list of moves that you can access at any time.
Yeah.
You can also buy moves to have at your disposal, and you can swap them in and out whenever you please. And I think that is perfect.
Yeah. So that is new. The feature of having just your full pool of moves, accessing them whenever to do the build you want. That's brand new. I'm with you. That's fantastic. The team XP share is a very controversial thing that's been in the games for at least the past probably like 7 or 8 entries at this point. Where maybe like 5 ago, I think maybe on Let's Go, they made it so you can't turn it off. So everybody always earns XP from literally catching or battling. And many people don't like that because they felt it caused their team to become too OP and an already easy game was made easier. But I mean, I want to ask you this as somebody who faced some walls in the early games. I don't feel like, even with that XP share, I feel OP ever. Like, I feel like for the most part, my team, which is changing a lot, but I feel like I'm getting downed. Not like fully wiping, but a lot of my Pokemon are dying in battles. So like, I think this game has a surprising challenge to it, but maybe it's just pushing back more. Maybe it's not challenging. And I do think in terms of the way you build your Pokemon with the moves, that can maybe feel different. But yeah, in terms of the battling and paying more attention to the way you build your team, have you found that to be more of a challenge, or do you still feel like a god?
I think I'm finding less of a challenge in this game than previous games.
Sure.
And I really like how the XP system works in this because it was way more of a grind in previous gens to like actively use specific Pokemons to level them up. Where for this, like, I think the Pokemon that you use will get more XP, and the other Pokemon in the party will get less, but they still progress. And I think that's a great way to just level up Pokemon rather than focus on one and like maybe have an EXP share for another Pokemon. Just in general, the mechanics of this game I greatly prefer to the previous Pokemon formula, and I honestly just we'll get into more in later episodes, but I really enjoy the systems in this. And I think, like everything else in this game, it's a breath of fresh air. Like, of course, there's the strong and agile styles, which I think come into play less than I was expecting them to. But if there are points where I have a fire advantage over a grass type, and I'm like, this could be a one-hit situation, going for strong. Sometimes I use agile. It's kind of rare. I mostly just go in and try and use strong as much as possible, but that's another like small improvement that I really enjoy. Where it's like, if you use strong, you better get the one hit, because if not, they get 2 hits after that probably. So yeah, it's great systems in play in this game, I think.
Yeah, and that's also very new. Pokemon, to my knowledge, maybe in the spinoff I didn't play, but they have never messed with turn order ever. In terms of like this type of RPG where you can influence the turn order heavily. Like obviously there's been moves like rollout where it's like you make your move and then you can't stop. Or you have a move like Hyper Beam that takes a turn to charge and then attacks. But like that's not the same thing. Where here you're actively influencing based off your strategy. And I think that's fantastic, and I want them to flesh that out even further in the future, because it's making me think where even if I have an advantage and I land a standard attack, like I said, based off of the scaling so far, I don't feel like I'm ever massively ahead of the Pokemon I'm facing. So if I have a type advantage, I will absolutely go for strong style to hopefully get the one-hit kill and not get downed and have to go back to camp. But I do find myself using the agile style a surprising amount, and I think it comes down to mainly times where I want to capture a Pokemon that I couldn't stealth capture, where agile will allow me to do like a status effect move to get them paralyzed or asleep, and then a damage move, and hopefully that status effect prevents them from moving so I can get my next turn very fast and then try to catch them. So on that front, I really think there are so many levels of strategy that can be at play with toggling styles. Maybe it's you get out what you put into that element, but I do think I would love to see that fleshed out more. And I also love that you can only do that once a Pokemon masters a move. I like that they don't just give you that option for every single move. I like that you have to train with that Pokemon if you want to be able to have those options. I like that a lot.
Right, and then there's I'm forgetting the character's name, but there's like essentially like a training area where you can go and someone is over there that you can purchase moves from for your Pokemon, which I think is cool. And then there's also like you can get these like mastery seeds, I think they're called, where if you get like a new move for a Pokemon and you don't want to wait to use that and like master it, you can spend that on that move for that Pokemon, and you'll unlock the strong and agile style, which again is just another really great mechanic that I particularly enjoy. So yeah, I think there's just so many things that I prefer of this type of formula that I really enjoy. The crafting system is something that I like a lot too. Is this new? This seems like it's probably new.
Crafting's brand new. That's
okay.
That's super new. I mean, again, if you want to get technical, Crystal had the apricorns where you could bring them to the guy and he would make you special Pokeballs. This is on a different level. Sorry. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, it makes me actually want to use the berries in this game.
Yeah.
And like, there's so many instances throughout gens, 2 and 3, where I would come across these things like, I don't care about these. I'm only using potions and like revives and things like that, full heals and all that. So I'm constantly catching everything I can, and immediately putting it back into my inventory chest, and then crafting things like when I'm back in my home, and using and like being able to access that chest and like
Yeah.
creating all these Pokeballs, like crafting all the Pokeballs,
Mm-hmm.
crafting like revives and things like that. It like I'm gonna make the boring comparison that has people have made to this, like when it was revealed. It does, like in a lot of ways, feels like Breath of the Wild, where like crafting systems kind of similar to making food in that game, which were more like spells and like healing items and things like that. And just even like the UI of the items,
Yeah.
I feel like it looks very similar. So yeah, I really like that about this.
Yeah, and I really appreciate also. I think this game has a great economy, and I never believed I would ever say that about a Pokemon game in my entire life, outside of like maybe Red and Blue, where your money means something, you know. But it's curved in a way that like the end of the game you're getting so much currency. Here, I think the economy is balanced very well, where uh, I mean, you could play Fashion Mon and you can be picking up customization stuff for your trainer all the time, where I'm constantly checking to see what's new there. I got a fit right now that I really like, so I don't see myself straying from it right now. Maybe a new haircut eventually, but um, I'm spending money on that stuff. I'm spending money on inventory expansion. I'm not spending money on Pokeballs and I'm not spending money on potions because I still kind of feel strapped for cash at times, but I love exploring the world so much, or maybe not even exploring, but just going around on my weird deer and picking up these items to the point where like if I'm bored or if like I have some time, I'll just pop in, pull up my Switch, and just do an item run around the map and like just stock up on apricorns, stock up on flowers and stuff. Because I'm burning through a lot of these things, and I think the economy is good because there's plenty of Pokemon games where I refuse to use any of my items just because I'm like I might need that later. But now I know I don't have to spend my precious money on them. I'm spending my time, but I'm enjoying that time, you know? So I do think it's balanced in a way that I'm burning through Pokeballs, I'm using berries, I'm baiting Pokemon, but the process of like earning it and spending it is again just fun to do. So I really like the way the crafting system is implemented here.
Same. I guess like some other things to talk about, like briefly, alpha Pokemon in this game are just like bigger versions of Pokemon with red eyes.
Yeah.
Kind of reminded me of like, I know I saw like previews for like Sword and Shield. I know that Gigantamax Pokemon are like way bigger, but this kind of reminded me of that. What do you think about the alpha Pokemon?
Alpha Pokemon, I think, are cooler than Gigantamax because they operate in the same way that I think Xenoblade Chronicles does this well. And if you've ever played like an MMO, like Wizard 101 even, like you will see a big thing in an open area. You're like, that thing probably has XP, and then you go up to it, and it's like, it is 3 times my level, I shouldn't be here. So I think on that structure alone, they have so much more meaning for this game than Gigantamax did there, where I only have caught one alpha so far. It is a Bidoof, because it was low level for me when I returned for another quest. I was like, oh, it's only level 18, I got this. Because for me right now, I've done 2 Lords, and most of my team is around level 30. I think my Rowlet is 35, 36, I think. But yeah, most of the times when I've ran into alphas recently, they're still like level 50s. So I've tried to capture a couple, did not have much success. But yeah, I think they're cool. And big Pokemon, it's fun seeing them next to their standard versions, you know? And I do like that too, how you can just throw your team out and just hang out with them and vibe. That's a good feature. I like that.
Yeah, it's really cute. I kind of go out of my way to catch alpha Pokemon just because, like what you said, it is one of those things where it's like, holy shit, that is a really big Pokemon, and
Yeah.
I need it. Even if I'm like super under leveled, I will just toss as many Pokeballs as possible at it, or engage them in battle and try not to die. That's like, I feel like that's the challenge for me in this game is if I need to battle an alpha Pokemon because I cannot catch them by any other means. Um, that's when you're gonna get like one hits and things from the Pokemon. So you got to get as many moves in as possible. And I think I'm gonna start using that method you described of using the agile style because that sounds helpful. But I've caught like the Rapidash in the
Nice.
first area. The one alpha Pokemon that I'm using in my party because I adore this thing is Torterra. Is an alpha level 65, level 65 Torterra. Huge. This is the biggest Pokemon I've seen. Love it. Using that, I was desperately looking for a grass type. I was trying to find a leaf stone for an Eevee, which I wasn't even like super like into. I just kind of needed a grass type. And boy, did this big old turtle with a tree on it show up, and I was like, "Yep, that's my dude." So
Yeah.
he is my grass type, grass and ground, which is cool. So yeah, I think alpha Pokemon are just they're one of those things that will catch your eye when you're exploring a new area, and like, how am I going to catch this thing? So
Yeah.
I love them. They're pretty cool.
And I do like as well, like similar to the structure and comparisons I made, like you see an alpha Pokemon when you first get to an area, and you're like, okay, so that's one of the alphas that spawns in this area, and you progress through different zones in the game to the point where I've reached a point where I can go to the third zone, but returning to zone 1, most of those Pokemon that are alphas are lower level now that I feel more confident going into and catching them, and they're easier to catch like a normal Pokemon. But if you are able to get one of the higher level alphas, I'm sure that is very helpful. So again, it's choice and variety. Like if you want it to be a little easier, you can shoot for the moon. I did try to get that Heracross in the first area. In the
I got that. I got Heracross.
That first place, yeah. Because that thing was massive. That was so cool. But yeah, I think alphas are cool. I think they're maybe a safer gimmick Pokemon variation, but in the context of this game, I think they work really, really well. So
yeah, they're just another fun challenge of like you don't have to engage with them at all, but like you're seeing a big Pokemon, you're probably gonna want to do it.
Do you want to hear something funny that happened to me with an alpha thing?
Yeah.
So earlier today, I recorded footage for the episode because I did a few things. I tried to showcase some of the new stuff just because I knew we'd be talking about it. And I found an alpha Roserade on the way up to the second Lord, and I was like, sweet, I'll do this fight. I'll try and catch it. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. So I did the battle. My Pikachu, who's named Remy, after the Ratatouille,
That's cool.
He knocked out the Roserade. I believe it was him. And I was like, okay, I couldn't catch it. I tried. Let's move on to the Lord. So the fight ended, and I think I might have gone on Weird Ear, but I just started booking it up the hill the rest of the way. And I don't know how this happened, but like, I must have been milliseconds away from a transition from day to night when I started that battle. Because as I was running again, in the spot where I saw Roserade fade away, a Honchkrow spawned, and it was an alpha Honchkrow, and it knocked me on my ass in the exact same spot. So that was a moment.
That's really cool.
Yeah, but yeah, I do think the game pushes back at times, and I Gen 3 implemented double battles, right? Like you had some double battles in that game, right? If you're oblivious to your surroundings, you can get jumped. You can get like 3, 4, 5 Pokemon against your solo one, get surrounded and just get screwed. And I think that the fact that the game can do that, I appreciate a lot, and makes me think that there are scenarios where it can be harder than other Pokemon games, because that's mean. That is cheap and mean, but I respect it. So
Yeah, and I like how you can just peace out at any time too, which is what I often do. Like
mhm.
if I'm after a certain Pokemon and I'm trying to catch it, I'll do that and then just ignore like the Zubats or whatever that are trying to surround me. So
Mhm.
I think that's fun. So like the main draw of this, like the main I guess story is like you going through and dealing with like clans, Diamond and Pearl, um, and like helping them quell, as they say, their like Pokemon lords who like are like I suppose like the rulers or like the figureheads for Pokemon of a particular region. Um, so of the ones that you faced so far, like what do you think of that and like doing quests to like get up to that point and like actually engaging with and battling these Pokemon lords?
I love it. I'm a big fan of that style of like checkpoints. I guess like these are in terms of progressing what gyms would be in a standard Pokemon game, right? But like I
Mm-hmm.
don't even like comparing it that way because it is straight up apples and oranges. It is way more different than even in our episode 0 where I talked about Sun and Moon, the Alola generation, where there were the trials. There were still 8 trials, and it was like you're not doing a gym thing, but you could be doing like mini games or something. Um, it's very, very different in that structure, and I don't even think there's 8 of them. I think there's maybe like 6 or something, maybe
Yeah,
5.
I think it's five. I think it's
Yeah.
five.
So I think it's a great concept. It's very refreshing because it's sort of the culmination of you in that area where if you want to mainline it, you can just blitz it and try and get to those lords. But I have been taking my time. I've been doing side quests, and then when I'm ready and I want to progress, I'll go to do the lord encounter. And the 2 that I've done so far of Cleavor, which is a new evolution for Scyther. That's a 3rd form evolution that Scyther never had. And Lilligant, which I think is a Pokemon that has existed before. Um, Lilligant's fight was cool also, and I like that even amongst the 2 bosses that are possessed by lightning, they still have differences. It's not just the same type of way to think about the fight. So I've really been a fan of um, this checkpoint system or the gating here and the mechanics involved with it. But for you, I know this is super different from gyms, and it involves like active combat kind of. So like, how do you feel about this in your Pokemon game?
I'll say like in terms of like the gameplay of it, it's not very interesting because you're just like chucking like little bags of feed at them
Sure.
to like lower their health bars essentially, and then that is essentially what calls them. It's not very engaging. Like you are dodging attacks, which are
Mm-hmm.
very easy, and you're just literally spamming the throw button. So in that regard, it's not all too fun. But I prefer this if we're comparing this to the gyms, which they're like what you said, they're kind of like it. They're different, um, but it's similar. Like how you progress. Like you need to quell the region's Pokemon before you can move on to the next one. Just in the same way where you have to get a one area's gym badge before you can move on to the next one. Um, I kind of, I don't know if I prefer this, but I enjoy this. There's always discussions in Pokemon games where it's like you gotta love your Pokemon. It's very funny because you're battling your Pokemons in most of the game
Mm-hmm.
and you're getting them pretty beat up. Um, I think that idea of loving your Pokemon is more apparent in this game, especially since you're like trying to save these Pokemon.
Yeah.
And that's what I really like about the Pokemon Lords is like you're very focused on uh, calming and restoring these Pokemon to their natural states, and I do like that from a story perspective compared to just steamrolling through Misty's gym with like your grass type or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I like this a lot. I don't know if I prefer it to
Mm-hmm.
gyms, like the battle system. I think is still really fun, but um, in a more of a story sense, I like the idea of going through and helping these Pokemon
Mm-hmm.
rather than destroying them as
Mm-hmm.
with your super super strong Pokemon.
And I also like this because, again, it gives you variety, where if you want to just take it active combat the whole time and do your Dark Souls dodges against these bosses, and wait until they're stunned to just spam them with the bombs, you can. But also, there's like little segments of the boss health bar where they'll go through an attack animation, and if they got like stars around them, you have an opportunity to go into your inventory, throw out one of your Pokemon, and then battle to try and finish the fight faster that way if you feel you have an advantage. And just because I like that idea of like, I'm the trainer, this is a dangerous Pokemon, I'm gonna weaken it first, then I'm gonna tag in my partner to help them finish. I think that's a cool way to engage with these bosses. Again, it's not, you don't have to do that, but I do like, again, the story aspect of it, and having my Pokemon engage with these big guardians of nature is cool. And as we talk about this in the story, I'm very surprised because it genuinely feels like a story out of one of the old Pokemon movies of like, hey, there's this very important Pokemon that's in trouble. We have to do what we can to help it. And again, it's refreshing, and I never thought we'd see it in a game. But yeah, I hear what you mean for sure in terms of like, it's a lot of AoEs, it's a lot of direct charges that you can easily dodge. But yeah, I think it's a nice change of pace, more so than the last time they tried to experiment with progression markers, I think.
Yeah, totally. And I guess like the last thing before we talk about like how we want to discuss the show going forward, I think, is maybe some things that you don't like about this, or some things that you wish were present in this game. Is there anything that come to mind for you?
Let me bring my Pokemon in my house.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big one.
That'd be cool.
And I like that there's no multiplayer. I like that there's no abilities. I like that the competitive people hate this game, honestly.
Yeah.
Because I feel like competitive Pokemon, I think it's cool, and I like that can be a thing. But I've talked about this with you a lot before. I don't like playing Pokemon that way. So the fact that they've made a game that stripped away some of those elements that, to me, were useless. I don't know if there's the correlation here, but it feels like they were able to focus in on elements that make it better for me as a single player. So on that front, I don't have an issue with some of the technical things that other Pokemon fans that are hardcore competitive have problems with. Obviously, I think the game could use a resolution buff, but that can't happen. I will say I do like the art direction, like the sort of painting style they have with a lot of the character models and Pokemon and landscapes I really like. I think, and I have seen the 4K emulated version of this, it would sing with a higher resolution, I think. So again, credit to the art style. Resolution is not great, but it's fine. I'm not distracted by it. Same thing with the frame rate. For the most part, it seems pretty stable. I think it dips to like maybe high 20s a couple times, but it's never distracting for me. So I know what hardware I'm on. It probably can't be fixed, but maybe down the line or in a sequel on a different piece of hardware that'll be fixed. But I really don't have many complaints, if I'm being completely honest. So what about you?
I'm mostly with you. I think it's funny that we're over like an hour and like maybe 20 minutes into this episode, and we're just talking about the graphics, which are very top of mind for people.
Yeah.
And I'm with you. Like, it's not a good looking game. I wouldn't go as far to say it's a bad looking game. I do agree with you. The art style, I think, is a good step in the right direction. Like, I like the idea of the art style. There are so many instances, though, of they'll zoom in on something, and I'm like, wow, they should not have done that. Yeah. There's not a lot of detail in those textures, which I think is funny. But like, it's very hit or miss for depending on what type of person you are. For me, and it sounds like for you, that's present, and it's not that distracting. But like, for the most part, it really doesn't matter because like the gameplay itself is so fun in this game, which is great. But for me, some of the things, I guess in general, I wish the game itself was deeper. like I love the idea of this game and like having an open world Pokemon that is more focused on catching Pokemon and like living in a world of Pokemon rather than like battling them and like going through uh, the gyms and stuff, which I like. But I think I kind of prefer this formula. For me, if we had like a capital R RPG rather than like for this, I think it's like lowercase r RPG,
Sure.
where like Jubilee Life is like the hub town for this game. For me, like I think it'd be really cool if each region had its own hub with like I'm going to Skyrim because that's what I always do. Like you start off in Whiterun and then you navigate to Solitude and like Winterhold, and each area has its own region capital with its own like sub storylines and things like that.
Yeah.
I think that I know I'm like future looking, but like if this is the base of that and we eventually get that with future Legends games, I'm sold. But right now, that's something I'm kind of craving. Something else which I wasn't expecting until I really played this is I wish there was voice acting in this game. I know that's like a weird thing because I don't think Pokemon's ever had voice acting, but for me at least, the jump from the handheld games to now, I guess this is still a handheld game, but like more of console style game, and you're like engaging with like 3D model characters and things like that. Um, it feels a little strange not having voice acting. I know some people have expressed that, but I feel like most people are probably fine without it. But for me, that just goes back to like a deeper experience. Like,
Sure.
if there was more voice acting, if there's voice acting at all, but like if the requests were more like side quests from an RPG rather than a miscellaneous quest or something like that, I think maybe that's like the ideal Pokemon game in my mind, and maybe that's asking for too much. But um, I think looking in the future, that is the type of Pokemon experience I want. But from what we have out of this, having this like light and fluffy experience from Pokemon is pretty amazing. So maybe I'm asking too much, but that's kind of where my head's at.
Sure, yeah. And I think that's an expectation that a lot of people have for the future, right? But I think within this, it's just exciting to see them take those steps. And I think that's why I can't excuse the resolution being what it is and all the other things that we've talked about as hangups. The no voice acting thing has been a complaint since Sword and Shield, where there was like a whole ass concert scene
Oh no!
with a crowd. Nobody was speaking a word, and
Oh, yikes.
it was real weird. Um,
Even
I've-
like if they did like an Animal Crossing thing with like
Yeah.
they're making like stupid noises, like a Simsy sort of situation, even that would be better. But it kind of feels a little strange right now.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I agree. I think that's something I'd like to see. In terms of the settlement thing or the different towns, I'm with you. I think that'd be cool. Contextually, I understand the way it's set up right now. I will say I don't know if this changes moving forward, but the second region does have a settlement for the Diamond Clan, and I don't know if as the story progresses that might be built up the way that Jubilife is to maybe represent more of a town than what it is currently, which is just kind of tent houses. But I don't know what's in store for that. I'm assuming the Pearl Clan has something similar in whatever region they hold under their territory. But yeah, I am very excited to just keep continuing on this path. I'll ask you also, more superficial level, but are there any Pokemon on your rotation that you haven't brought up that you're big into, or any new Pokemon? Because this is a new generation that does have some Gen 4 Pokemon in it. Any standouts or things that you really like that you've seen so far?
Yeah, let me pull up my game again. I think Torterra for sure is the standout for me. It reminds me very much of the lion turtles from Avatar: The Last Airbender, which I think are really cool. So that's been a standout. And yeah, like just in general, this is kind of the first time I'm seeing like 3D models of Pokemon for like an actual experience that I'm having, not just like looking them up on the internet. It's like actually engaging with them and seeing them in those models. So that in and of itself is really interesting. Like just seeing Gyarados uh, out and about as like a real Pokemon, I think is really cool.
Yeah, dude.
I still hate Machoke, like especially now, like even more now. I'm like, oh, that's what he looks like. He straight up looks like a person.
Yeah.
So not a fan. Yeah, I mean, there's just lots of Pokemon. I just like the overall ability to just look at like 3D models of Pokemon, which is silly because people have been doing it for years. But for me, that's completely new.
Yeah.
So yeah, just in general, I like that.
I mean, even as someone who's seen the 3D models of some of these Pokemon for a while, like, I had a moment, and I do think, despite what we've talked about with the visuals and the things we'd like to see, like, I feel confident saying it is the dream Pokemon game that I always imagined when I was younger, because there's two things I want to bring up. One is the game does have its moments where the lighting, the scenery, it all works together. The music also, I think this game has a fantastic soundtrack where it's great orchestrations on its own, but the fact that it works in some tracks from Sinnoh Gen 4 Diamond Pearl Platinum, but like snuck in like the Jubilife Village theme, I think is amazing. I love that. Also love how as you progress and the village grows, the theme like gets more and more layered. But there's a point in that song where like a melody from it is the main Jubilife City theme in Diamond Pearl Platinum. So I think that's cool how they work those in. There was a moment night one, I think, where I was near the Cleavor area, the sunset, it was nighttime, I was chilling by a riverbank, I had my Rowlet next to me, and the music that was playing was the lakefront theme that's present in Diamond Pearl Platinum, which is also one of my favorites in the entire series. And again, it looked better because it was nighttime, I think, but it just was kind of like awe-inspiring for me as somebody who has been playing these games forever. Like, this is it. This is the game. This is the dream game. And speaking to you seeing them in 3D for the first time, I had like a Sam Neill in Jurassic Park moment where he sees the dinosaurs and he's like, they're moving in herds. They do move in herds. Gyarados is like half flying, right? You see Gyarados flying in the air. I saw that and I put my controller down. I was like, I'm shocked that they're that committed to the animations and making these Pokemon feel like they're the Pokemon they are. So I can excuse a janky resolution for all of these other things with the hope that in the future we'll reach that point where it also just looks beautiful all the time. So
yeah,
just wanted to throw that there.
For me, I'll say like it's not quite the dream Pokemon game. I think the base of it is so strong. Like we have a Marvel's Avengers podcast where like, oh, the base of this game's great.
Yeah.
Like this is like straight up cement and concrete, I should say, compared to like the twigs going on with Marvel's Avengers. But like this is so strong where the future is so incredibly bright for the Pokemon Legends brand, and we'll talk about it in future episodes, but like, man, this is the type of Pokemon experience that I want. Like I didn't really realize that until I was playing it, but more focus on capturing and just all the eases of use here and like actually exploring the open world from like a 3D perspective. This is like the ultimate Pokemon experience, and like it's not quite there. There's a lot more work to be done, I feel, to make it feel more in depth, but we're on quite the right track, I think.
Yeah, and it's good hearing that, and it's good from you as a new fan who's put in the work. Like, I consider you a full-blown Pokemon fan at this point. Don't feel like, and I know you don't, but like, don't feel like your word is only worth so much, right? Like, I think you have really valid takes on all this stuff. I think, like, I fully agree with everything you said. I think it's just the fact that they get so much right that is going for the dream Pokemon game. It's like, it's the dream Pokemon game for now. it will be seceded at one point, absolutely. Hopefully soon. But like I never I will tell you this right now, Jack. You know I was very excited for the Diamond and Pearl remakes. Uh they were fine. And I was like, damn, dude, is Gen 4 really my favorite after I replayed them? I was like, maybe I just have to play Platinum because like Platinum does go places that these two don't. So grain of salt on that front, but I was straight up I was on autopilot and I was so sad that I was cruising through that game. I was like, I'm not having fun. I'm going through motions. Um where I still think it's a good representation of that game. It's just like Platinum is the better one. And I did not expect, again, you led with this. We didn't think we were playing this at launch. I cannot believe I'm this positive on a new Pokemon game. Like, period. That it's just so surprising to me, and it's a great feeling, and I'm with you, and I'm excited to talk about it eventually, that the future is very bright. I will say, to shift slightly, this didn't come up naturally, but I would like to give you a couple of the nicknames I've given some Pokemon.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, so my
Now,
main...
to lead off, though, I've seen a lot of back and forth online between. I didn't know this was like a real conversation. Nicknames versus don't nickname. I'm a not nickname guy. Of course, we have the. I've had a few nicknamed Pokemons, like Chad Gable.
Yeah, Chad Gable.
That was a Patreon producer. Submitted that request, and we did it. And I love my Chad Gable. And like I think the Panda King and things like that, like throughout, more so like Gen 2 and 3.
Yeah.
But like I'm not nicknaming my Pokemon right now. Maybe at some point I will, but I think that's a funny conversation that people having like very divided in the Pokemon fan base.
It's nice also because you can change names whenever. So if you want to like experiment and see like what would it feel like if I threw out this Pokemon and instead it said a name that I gave them, just to vibe it out. And if you're not feeling it, you can just switch it back to whatever its species name is. But I completely forgot that you named your Hariyama Panda King after the Sly Cooper character, because my Rowlet I named Cooper in association with Clockwork from the Sly Cooper series, because he's an owl.
Yeah.
But I was looking at Rowlet, I'm like, you're not a Clockwork. I can't name you Clockwork. That's too long. You're too cute for that. So, Cooper is my Rowlet. I have a Crowbat, who is now, like, maybe one of my favorite Pokemon. Crowbat is awesome. Crowbat is named Bruce, of course.
Oh, nice. I like that. Batman reference.
Yes. I considered Alf as, like, Alfred, but he's a big boy. Big Bruce. Just like the shark, he's big.
That makes sense.
And, of course, the Pikachu named Remy that I mentioned earlier. But the other one that's been floating around is a Scyther that I named Reaper for obvious reasons. But, yeah, I really like the rotation I have. I'm experimenting a lot with new Pokemon just because I've been catching so many. But, yeah, it's a very nice loop, and I don't see myself tiring of it.
Yeah, no, it's like, it's very simple in the best possible way. Like sneaking up on Pokemon, going in the grass, throwing fruit, and like seeing which fruit for certain Pokemon like, because certain Pokemon like X, Y, and Z compared to A, B, and C. So just using that to your advantage. Hitting them from behind is like one of the most satisfying things in games at the moment. Yeah. Like the big noise that you get. And like waiting and like I'm always running off to the next Pokemon, hoping I caught that last one, and just moving on to the next. Like everything's so much quicker in this game than previous Pokemons, and yeah, man, it really is like so fresh. And I know so many people have been saying that who have enjoyed this game, but it's true, and there's really no other way to describe it. So it feels really great. It feels very great, and it's some of the most fun I've had playing Pokemon so far.
Yeah. I know I've already said this a couple times too, but like, I cannot tell you the number of times that there's either been a mechanic. This was mostly early hours. a mechanic or just a thing you can do in the game that I'm like, I can't believe we actually were able to do this in a Pokemon game. I never, ever, ever thought there'd be a Pokemon game where you could, before battling, go through the 6 that you have, pick who you want, take that specific Pokeball, aim it, throw it, and initiate. Like, that was. I truly didn't think I would see that in my lifetime, Jack. Ever.
Yeah, and
It's
having
here.
them just get stuff for you, like throwing.
Yeah.
I'm always just like cycling through and throwing them at trees or
Yeah, it's
throwing
so
them at
nice.
like little flowers and things you can pick up. It's really cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's so simple and everything just works very well. Like from a gameplay perspective, I think everything's like nearly perfect. Some other flaws that we discussed, but
Mhm.
yeah, it's been really fun. Before we sort of like transition, is there anything else that we haven't talked about that you want to discuss for like a first impressions podcast?
Um, I mean, there's some connections to Diamond Pearl Platinum that I've enjoyed that you don't have any basis on really, so I won't go into details on them. But I think something that when you eventually get to playing the Sinnoh games, um, I'm sure you'll see familiar faces, which I think is interesting. Where there's a lot of characters in the cast where it's like this is so far in the past that it's like you're designed like someone I've seen before. It's not like it's the same person. It's like you're probably like an ancestor, but it's just like an association with this is the generation and the region it is. We're not going to make an entire new cast of character models and designs where it's like so little of this game feels like Sinnoh that I think the choice to have some design influences be Sinnoh tangential, it's like okay, yeah, that's cool. Um, so like that's been an element. The sort of like meta division of the Diamond and Pearl clans I think is fun. It's like because that's just the fan base. It's like I think Pearl is better because of Palkia. I think Diamond is better because of Dialga, and like that's their whole thing because their interpretation of Sinnoh, this almighty Pokemon god, is Diamond Clan thinks it's the god of time. Pearl Clan thinks Sinnoh's the god of space, which is what Dialga and Palkia in Gen 4 are for the box legendaries. So, like, it's cool that they have their own view and interpretation of it. Um, and yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff going on lore wise that I'm eating up. And I'm excited to see eventually, whenever you play the Sinnoh games, like I said, to see how you take elements and story from Hisui into Sinnoh and see how that paints that perspective because I think that will be very unique and rare in terms of having a perspective on Diamond Pearl Platinum that not many other people have. So,
Right.
but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So overall, we're both really enjoying it. I think we are praising it a lot. So,
Yeah.
um, so yeah, like I said, going forward, I think the next episode we'll do will be after we both roll credits, which that's not 100%ing the game. That's like doing all the tasks, like the main missions. And then I
Mm-hmm.
think there's like a 100% version where like you fill out your Pokedex. Um, I don't know if we'll be able to do that for the show. Maybe we will. I'm not sure. But I think next episode we'll discuss like rolling credits. And then after that, we'll do a finale episode looking back at the game, more of like a retrospective, similar to what we did at the end of each gen from 1, 2, and 3.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe do like a rankings. Like I'll do Gen 1 through 3 plus Arceus. And maybe Christian, I don't know if you have a working Pokemon ranking. If you want to do like a full-on Pokemon ranking plus Arceus, you can, or you can do your My First Mon ranking plus Arceus.
Sure.
I think that'd be interesting.
I will stew on it, but absolutely I'll be doing at the minimum. I'll do the ranking of my first Mon playthroughs. But I
That
can
will be interesting because
yeah
I have a feeling like where this kind of is floating around for me. So
yeah. I mean, I can tell you right now there are some Pokemon games that I truly think I have to replay some of them especially after my experience with the Pearl remake. Like, I have to play Platinum again to see if it really is my favorite and the best one. And then I also have to play the fan favorite number one, Heart Gold Soul Silver again, because I haven't played that in a decade. But as of right now, this is like probably top 3 for me. Like, in the entirety of all the games I played in Pokemon. And I don't think it's 3. It might be number 2. I think it's fantastic. I really, really love it. And again, this was our first week with it. Maybe as time goes on, the luster will wear, but I think it's very important the first impression a game makes on you, and oh man, what a first impression. So
Yeah. I think in terms of timing, I'm not sure if we'll get an episode out to you next week. We'll see where we end up, but I don't want to rush things. Like, I don't want to, make us play this game like to get an episode out in a week. So if we end up beating the game in a week, then hey, that's great. And if not, we're just going to take it as it comes, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, expect us, I'd say, next week at the earliest, maybe in a week or two, 2 or 3 weeks. I feel like taking our time with this and like having a good conversation about like more so reviewing the game is important. So it's going to be a little different than the My First Mon formula in the past, but as of now, I think we'd love to hear your thoughts. So sound off in the YouTube comments. If you have any tips for us or corrections or anything, we'd love to hear them.
No spoilers also. That's the thing. I trust the trainers. We have a great community around this show. But it's a new game. So spoilers, I think, are fair to warn against. So
yeah, that's fair. So yeah, I think that's a good plan going forward. But yeah, until then, Christian, where can the people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, on TikTok. I've made a few Pokemon TikToks in the past. At Chun2D2, CHUN, number 2, D, number 2. Again, like Jack said, youtube.com/joyclicks is where you can find this show for the video version. We also put Excelsior up in a video form. You can check that out there. Very recently, me and my good friend Omar Nakvi played Dark Souls, and we had a big long-form discussion, kind of like how Jack and I do about these games, just about Dark Souls, because Elden Ring is coming up. And to go off of what you were talking about timetables, I fully agree with what you're saying. That being said, Elden Ring comes out on the 25th. That's a day one for me. I'm fully planning on having this game completed by then. So for listeners, things could change, but just keep that in mind when you're thinking of the schedule. So it's not going to be too long to wait to hear more thoughts from us. But yeah, what about you, Jack?
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm also going to be playing Elden Ring. So, and I'm like, I think I've gotten 3. I've called 3 of the Pokemon, of the Pokemon Lords. So I only got 2 left. So, and I've been playing this a lot. And like I said earlier, I had to like hold back on playing. So I'm going to start mainlining it more, which would be nice. But yeah, you can follow me on social media at Fascinated Jack. Like Christian said, we host a Marvel's Avengers podcast. Which is very funny in the year 2022. But if you like that game, if you like Marvel in general, we're doing a Daredevil MCU rewatch, which is very cool to go back and watch that series, given recent events and appearances from characters in recent MCU movies and shows. So it's been fun. If you like that, you can check out Excelsior, youtube.com/joyclicks for podcast services like you're probably already listening to right now. So yeah, Christian, thank you very much for joining me. This has been a great discussion. I'm looking forward to future discussions about this game.
Absolutely. I feel like I had to hold back from the hypotheticals because, like at the start, mind is racing. I can't wait to talk about it. Like, the fact that they started with Gen 4 means they're going to remake things they've remade before in the future. And so just take with that what you will. Keep that in mind. Think about that until the next time we talk. But yeah, this was a great discussion, and I'm probably going to play it immediately after we hang up and have some food. So,
likewise. Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode. We hope you're enjoying the game, most importantly.
Oh, yeah.
But until next time, we'll catch you later.